Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to our first Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C race and strategy guide. For our first guide we are heading to Japan, Autopolis International Raceway in particular, and it's Group 4 machinery with BOP on. 10 laps to get around, tyre at ×2, fuel at ×2, just the racing hard tyres available, no mandatory rules on terms of tyres or pit stops, damage is on light, it's a rolling start and slipstream is on real. Now initially when I heard those settings I have to say I was particularly underwhelmed, but then I had a little thought in my head, well maybe they're going to actually introduce some rain into this race to make it a little bit more interesting, but having done a few races, watched a number of races, there doesn't appear to be any inclement weather in this race either, so yeah, I was right to initially feel a little bit uninspired, underwhelmed by these settings. Somebody has mentioned, I did hear this mentioned just a few moments ago in a sort of live stream that I was watching, that maybe the reason for the tyre wear being so low is down to us not being able to adjust the brake balance when BOP is on, so maybe in a future update that should come along and tyre wear should be a little bit better to kind of make the races a little bit more interesting. They could have at least made the fuel a little bit of an issue on this one though. At least then you'd have people having to go into the pit lane. That's got a very dodgy pit lane at Autopolis, so it's always a little bit of a challenge. People having to sort of obey the white line rule as well would have been nice, but as it is, as you can see on the screen there is basically no strategy whatsoever for this one. Tyre wear's only at ×2, it's just the racing hard tyres, fuel's only at ×2, there is absolutely no issues on any of those fronts. Now this is just a race we're completing here in the Nissan GTR. Now you might be wondering why are we hanging back and just letting that driver in front of us serve that penalty without trying to overtake them, but we actually did cause them to get that half-second penalty, so it would have felt a little bit unfair to overtake them when they were serving it, given it was our problem. You can see the tyre wear there, why it's no issue whatsoever. We're actually in the Nissan GTR here, 4-wheel drive car. No issues on those tyres whatsoever. Now one thing you do want to be doing in this race if you want to be competitive is to get yourself a Mazda Atenza. Does appear to be the quickest car, absolutely dominating the leaderboards, and one of the big reasons it seems to be so strong is because it's absolutely rapid on the straight lines. Even in the GTR there, fully in the slipstream, we made no impression whatsoever on that Mazda Atenza in front of us, and here is us in the Ferrari getting absolutely destroyed by a Mazda on the straight. So yeah, I would expect to see that Mazda get BOP'd on the horsepower front fairly soon. So Autopolis is an extremely difficult track to overtake on, so one thing I would definitely be concentrating on this race is qualifying. There's a lot of madness going on in the midfield and towards the back, so the better the qualifying time you get, the further up the grid you start, and you should be in better shape. Now a little bit of a qualifying trick hack is to maybe, if you've not got much to do, park the car up and leave it for around about 45 minutes. That will then, you'll see the sort of day-night transition going on here. This is actually set within sport mode qualifying. Once it gets to those cooler conditions, we've kind of concluded from the video that we did yesterday that cooler conditions are slightly quicker. On a long track like this could be worth up to half a second a lap, but you will have to let the car sit for around about 45 minutes to get those cooler conditions. Now I've not tested this myself, but it was the case in Daytona that the car was quicker in the cooler conditions, so if you're looking to get an optimal qualifying time, maybe that's something you want to try. As I said, don't come into the comments telling me it doesn't work. I've not tried it myself, but in the case of Daytona it definitely did work to sort of do those qualifying times in the cooler conditions. And qualifying, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the most pivotal part of this race because it's all about trying to avoid that trouble. Really difficult to overtake at Autopolis. It was really difficult to overtake at Autopolis even in GT Sport and that nitrous slipstream. The slipstream is much more manageable now, much more realistic, so yeah, overtaking is a big issue in this one. But that's pretty much it. Concentrating on qualifying, get yourself a Mazda Atenza, you should be on to a winner in this one. We're going to be live streaming this one a couple of times over the course of the week. Do join me for that if you can. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.